Jerry, you are competing with Modi.
My words exactly. You took it from me.
Have you taken a note, Jerry?
Your beloved Prime Minister, I've got to, even if
No.
I don't agree with what he is
Sorry.
doing, at least his
Sorry.
word is okay.
Drape it on those.
Jerry, start your video.
Yeah,
One
he's
second.
hiding. He's hiding. He's hiding.
Hi. Hi. Hi, Cash. How are you?
Hi, hi, Kandu.
Good
I'm
to see
fine.
you guys.
Hi.
Manju, we can't see you. Manju, we can't.
Yeah,
How are you?
I wasn't well, so I'm looking.
Hello.
I can't
Hi.
recognize some. Oh, Nyugi. I can't
Hi.
recognize Nyugi. Gosh. Hi, I can you, but you're looking
Hi,
at
Manju.
somebody else.
I think Raju
I'm
also joined.
young, you know.
Hi, Raju.
Thanks for letting me in.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Great to see you.
Hi, Manju.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
Mohan.
My goodness,
Hi,
I haven't seen
Manju.
Manju.
Hi.
In
Hi,
ages.
Bubbly. How are
Manju,
you?
hi.
I've become
Hi,
very
Bubbly.
So, KS,
Yeah.
it's all yours.
Okay,
Kitchen
fine.
takes over. Great.
Yeah, okay.
Do you want us to mute ourselves or are you going to mute
Yeah.
us?
Yes,
No,
yes.
no.
Go to mute.
I want
Everybody
to
mute
share
yourself.
the
Are you
screen.
going to be sharing your screen?
Yeah,
Pierre?
that's
Okay.
that's what I will do. Yeah.
Okay.
And, I think Ranjit will allow me to do that. Right?
I will. I'm allowing She's Square.
It is. Ranjit,
Yeah, now it's allowed.
allowed? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
What are you doing?
It is. To me.
Oh God, I can't see. Yeah, trekking in the Himalayas. Okay.
Can you see? Can you guys see this screen? I mean, this is just
Absolutely.
the talking
Yes,
points.
we can
Yeah.
see it. We
Yeah.
can see it.
Yeah, we can see very well.
Okay, good. And the next, I'll show you another screen of pictures that the album that I'm going to share. Can you see this?
Listen.
Yep.
You might like
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
see
Okay,
the
good.
screen.
Huh?
You enjoy it.
Okay. This is
We're talking
the
about trekking
this
in
is
the
the
Himalayas.
third blog.
Trekking in
Third,
the Himalayas.
right. This is the blog site where, which I will just show briefly later on at the end of it. And this is the Google Earth screen where I will show you some Gokyori viewpoints if we get time at the end. Okay. Basically, it will be mostly with this album screen. Okay, going back to the topics here, how I got into trekking. Well, that's not very difficult to. I'm starting. Huh? I'm going ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Ranjit, can you mute everyone except KS?
Yeah. Too much noise.
Can everybody mute themselves?
Ronnie, can you mute everyone?
I'll try and see how I can do that.
Just go to participants.
Mute all. Done. Okay, keep going.
You may have to unmute KS.
Yeah.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. So I'm going ahead with the actual talk. The first is how I got into trekking. This is not very difficult to explain because I was working 12 hours a day in my software company, and I was kind of burnt out by the year 2000 or so, especially the year 2001 and 2002. I had to go to my US subsidiary, and after the CEO there resigned, and I had to take over a large project that we were doing for Roche Vitamins in New Jersey, and I was stuck there for 2 years. And Lata and the kids were here because my elder son was in college and younger son was in high school, and Lata had to manage everything here at home, and I was stuck in US for 2 years. I didn't really enjoy that kind of status. So at the end of the 2 years, when I came back to India, I thought it all over, saying whether it's worth really trying to do on-site jobs in US. And this first trek that I did, that is when it got decided. I decided that I need to make everything offshore and come off and close the company there. The first trek which I did was in a trek called Pindari Glacier Trek, which was during a vacation. I had come to India and I did that trek as a just to think over things and decide what to do next. But it all ended up my deciding that I will retire entirely and enjoy further treks like that, and let my partner take over as CEO in India. And we closed down the US operations, but we got all our clients back into India as offshore clients. That's how I got into trekking. Anyway, I will talk a little bit more as I go along. Now, the treks, the first trek that I did is a Pindari Glacier trek in Uttarakhand in India. And most of my treks for the first 5-6 years were all in India, mostly in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh and a few other states. As you can see, I did quite a few treks in Kumaon, Pindari, Sundardungam, Milam, all that. And then in Gharwal also several treks, 8-10 treks. Himachal Pradesh, a couple of treks. Kashmir, one trek. Sikkim, one trek. And in West Bengal. Totally about maybe 20 treks I have done in India. That was in the first 5-6 years. And then I moved over to Nepal and did quite a few treks there too. Now I'm going to basically show you, some general points about the treks in India. Mostly they were all camping treks. I would go with a guide, a local guide, who would bring 1 or 2 assistants, and they will bring tents and cooking stuff and utensils and everything. And we would camp in some places and go to the trek destination and come back. Many of my treks were solo, but many were also with 1 or 2 other regular partners who are my age group and who are also into trekking in a big way. The treks in Nepal are all tea house treks. They were all, in Nepal, you have all these famous treks with very good tea house facilities. You don't have to carry your tent or anything. You can just stay there. You get a nice room and you get cooked food, hot food, everywhere. Now I'll go straight to the album where I'm going to show all the treks. This album is actually containing some 226 pictures selected out of some 30,000 pictures from all the treks. It will be difficult to show all the treks in detail, but this is just an overview where I've selected 3 or 4 pictures from each of the treks that I have done, and it's arranged in a chronological order. The oldest trek starts with first few pictures and then it goes on to other treks. This is the Pindari Glacier trek that I did, the first trek that I talked about. This guy, Devendra Singh, called Debu by most of his Bengali clients. And he's the guy I was put on to by KMVN Bageshwar. KMVN is the Kumaon Mandal Vikas Nigam tourist setup that supervises trek groups. But since I landed up at a point of time when there was no group, they assigned me this guide from an area called Khati, which is on the Pindari Glacier route. This is Debu and me at the final 0 point of Pindari Glacier. Okay, and this is actually the next trek which I did was the Zongrila trek in Sikkim, actually West Bengal, North Bengal, on the ridge between Nepal and West Bengal and Sikkim. And this is the final point, Zongrila, where we reach and are able to see sunrise on Kanchenjunga. This is my guide for that trek. His name is Mingma. Mingma was my guide. He looks like Buddha, and he's getting warmed up by the morning sunrise at a high ridge in Zongrila. That's me on the ridge, viewing point ridge. This is the part of the Kanchenjunga range. Mount Pandim is here. This is the next trek. This is the Sundardunga trek, where it's a valley parallel to Pindari, and you walk for 4-5 days and reach a place called Jyotali and Khatalia, and from there you have to climb a very high ridge called I forget the name. I think it is I don't know. I forget the ridge. From there, you get this view. This is Pawali Dwar, which is hiding actually Nanda Devi behind it. Nanda Devi is behind this, but this is what you see from that Baloni top. This is Maikatoli when sunrise from the same Baloni top. These are two girls who were in Jyotali village in that Sundardunga trek. They are basically overseeing some cows or goats grazing, and they were singing in the forest, and then they smiled shyly from my camera without objecting to it. This is the Annapurna circuit trek, which was the next trek, and this is at the Thorangla Pass in the final stage. The pass is somewhere here. You can see the prayer flags. This is the last stretch of it, and I reach here after about 15 days trek. So this is the place where we cross the pass and then go to the other side there and then come back, return trek to Pokhara. This is at the pass. My guide Mithu and me at the Thorangla Pass. Ranjit, is everybody able to hear and everything going fine so far? Okay, good. This is another trek, Milam. In this picture, there's a French guy, Diksha Didier, who is from Pondicherry. And I met him on the last night of the return trek when he came to the camp where I was camp where I was staying, and he was totally shaken up because he just had a near-death experience, and I was the only guy he could speak to. The other villagers all gathered around, but he could not explain to them what happened. He had by mistake slipped on the edge of the thing and fallen to the side of the ravine. His backpack he had to release because he got hold of a tree, but the backpack he had to release down the river, and somehow he clambered up and came back. And he was totally shaken up for 2-3 hours. He didn't speak. But the next day he walked back with me, and I saw him through up to the end of the road. He came along with me in the share jeep, and I think he went back to Pondicherry. I haven't heard from him after that, but it was nice talking to him, and he was really happy to have somebody to talk to in English. Okay, this is at Harki Dun. Harki Dun is the last trekking point, and you see Swargarohini from there. This is that view, and this is the tourist rest house, or tourist rest house at Harki Dun, where you can rent a bed, and you can also get food from the cook there. Very low prices, 100 rupees, 200 rupees kind of a thing. These are typical pilgrimage sites. This is Yamunotri. Yamunotri in the Gharwal area of Uttarakhand. And this is the Bhagirathi river at Gangotri, crashing through the rocks down. And from Gangotri, I had gone further to Gaumukh, which is another 3-4 days trek. And that is the source of Ganga river. And this is the Shivling peak on the way to that Gaumukh. This is the Gaumukh where actually Ganga is emerging from a sort of a glacier mouth. And it's called Gaumukh because it looks like a mouth of a cow, it seems. Some flowers. Okay, this is a trek that, this is that Everest Base Camp trek, which I started from Jiri, which makes it almost a 18-day trek. The first 10 days, you start from Jiri and reach Namche Bazaar. And this is the route that Hillary and Tenzing took when they did the trek, in 1953. And this adds 10 days. And this particular, the first 10 days up to Namche Bazaar is called the classic trek because it follows Hillary's route. And this is the initial 1 or 2 days of the trek. This is a lady, Bridget from Germany. This is her porter guide. This is me, and this is my guide. We met at a place called Shivalaya, and for another 7-8 days, we were together on the same route. Bridget was a former air hostess in Lufthansa. This is the traffic jam at the Hillary Bridge on the EBC trek. This is the final point on Kala Pathar. This is Pumori, and this Kala Pathar is the final climb that you do from Gorakshep to be able to see Everest. This is me at the Kala Pathar prayer flag area. This is Everest view from Kalapathar. This is Everest, and these are these Lhotse and Nupse and all surrounding it. This is the view coming back to Gorakshep with clouds over the valley. This is actually now Sandakphu trek in West Bengal, which is an easy trek. And from that trek, at the end of the trek at Sandakphu or Falut, you can see Kanchenjunga. These are some village kids in on that route. This is the final morning view of Kanchenjunga from the Sandakphu or the Mole Ridge or something like that. I don't remember the exact spot. Okay, here this is a trek that I did to Roopkund with my this guy called Sadanand Kamath. He's actually 2-3 years older than me, and he has done lots more trek than me. And we have done several treks, about 8 or 10 treks together. He lives in Borivali in Bombay. I live on this side of SGNP, that is Thane. And this was the first trek that we did together to a lake, high altitude lake called Roopkund. Roopkund is a lake at an altitude of maybe 3,500 or 4,000 meters. And it is in that lake, whenever during summer, when the frozen lake melts, you can see a lot of human skulls lying there under the water, and those are, it has been, they were all found with big, what do you call, caved in portions of their skulls. And it has been, deciphered that maybe they were all died while doing a trek due to large hailstorms, and so many of their skulls were all caved in a bit. This is another view. This is the Chaukhamba from Bedni Bugyal on the way to Roopkund. This is a zoomed view, so it looks very huge. It has actually got 4 corners. That is why it's called Chaukhamba. We see only the 2 corners here, and there are 2 others at the back of this. This is Nilkant from Bedni Bug. Nilkant is actually close to Badrinath, but this is a view from Roopkund. And this is Nanda Ghunti. This is a Kalu Vinayak a small temple near Roopkund, very close to Roopkund, in a small stone cane. And these are some local ladies who are praying at that temple. These are what are known as locally as cheels, Lamagias that were there on the Roopkund trek. This is another trek that I did with 4 or 5 other members of a group. And this was to a place, it's actually this is in Himachal Pradesh, crossing from Sangla to, from this side to Sangla, getting down at Sangla, if anybody is aware of that area. It's in the Kinnor region. This is the initial portion of that trek where all of us stood in this field of flowers. This is the temple at a place called Janglik, which is the start of the trek, first village. This is that entire group, including Susan, whom you know, Ilham. There are 6 of us in that group. But what happened in that trek, we actually did not complete the trek before we could cross the pass. There were heavy rains and it started flooding. The camp area started flooding. So we left the tents and everything and came back in the rain, walking for 2 days, and stayed in that Janglik village where all these family members took care of us. The Negi family of ladies, all beautiful looking ladies, and the kids also very beautiful. You can see them all here. Suzanne, yeah, Suzanne. And these are the Janglik family. This is that temple at Janglik. This is another trek in Uttarakhand that I did cross, that is from Kumaon to Gharwal, walking across many villages, all high altitude villages. All this courtesy that I showed you that picture of Debu. Na? Debu is a character. I mean, like he's a guide with whom I have done 8 or 10 treks in Uttarakhand. And he knows the entire Kumaon area and all the villages there pretty well. And he's, he wherever he goes, he either finds a Bahu from his village who's married into that village, or somebody from that village, some girl from that village is married into some boy in his village. So he knows, he walks all the local trails, not necessarily the popular treks, but even the trails that the villagers use. And with him, with Debu, I have done several treks which are non-standard treks going from village to village. And these are pictures from some of those treks, all these. All the kids in the mountain areas always welcome you with a namaste, which is very typical in this picture. This is another view of a pass and Chupu Pass, where you can get a Namik Peak view. This is a forest through which we walked, and this is Panchachuli from Munsiari. There are 5 peaks which are like this, and they are called Chulis, which is chimney. And Munsiari is the place from where you can see this thing. I did a trek from Khati to Munsiari, and this is a view of the mountains as I neared that Panchachulis. Pine forests in near Chowkhori. These are kids in a village. This is another trek, Dharma Valley trek. In that Dharma Valley trek is the one which the lot of trade used to take place from Tibet to India, and there are many rich homes there, basically huts or local this thing, but with a lot of architecture, wooden sculpted doors and carved doors and stuff like that. This is a lady in one of those village called Tidang, which is very close to the Tibetan border. This is my friend Sadanand Kamath and me at where was this? Yeah, this is, I think, I'm not very sure. This may be Dharma Valley trek, the same trek that I'm talking about. This is another of those spectacular windows, an old lady peeping out and saying goodbye to us. We were staying in her house for a couple of days. Another local villager. This is a Tibetan dog. They say its tongue always hangs out on the left because it is from Tibet. I don't know how far that is true. This is me, my guide helping me cross a log, which is just 2 logs, rounded and not flat and pretty, shaky also. I don't know. Without his help, I couldn't have crossed that. A shopkeeper in Sela, where we stayed in his home. This is Debu here at the end of the Dharma Valley trek with his son and Sadanand Kamath and another guide porter for us. Okay. I don't know. This is a shepherd's hut in Maitoli. Yeah, I remember this place. This is a very remote place, and we stayed in a cattle shed there. With Debu and I stayed in one portion of the cattle shed. There was another portion. In the morning, we were not expecting anybody else to be there. There was another portion of the cattle shed. Suddenly, we heard, a female voice, a Bengali voice in female voice, asking her husband, who was outside perhaps smoking, "Paikhana kothay korbo?" Mate korte hobe. The husband replied, "Mate korte hobe." This is how I remember that trek mostly. Anyway, this is again part of that trek. Debu and his son and nephew, who were part of our party. And this is a temple in near Munsiari, where you get the background of this Panchachuli from this temple. This is Nanda Devi. This is the Nanda Devi main, and this is the east. And this is that Pawali Dwar that I showed you in the beginning, which is from that Baloni top. You could not see Nanda Devi. Now here you can see that Nanda Devi. Okay, this is a snow trek that we did in Dhakuri. Nothing much there. This is all in Changbang base camp. This whole thing. Bagini Glacier. This was another Mani Mahesh range in Kugti village near Himachal Pradesh. Myself and Sadanand went there to visit a Kartik Swami temple. These are the pictures from that. Okay, here, this is in a Nepal trek to Gosai Kunda. It's a high altitude lake, which you can do after, that is you do Langtang, Gosai Kund, and then Helambu. It's a circular trek. And that Gosai Kunda is a very famous pilgrimage spot. And Langtang is also a very famous valley with a beautiful hill, snow peak called Langtang Lirung. Of course, that Langtang village got totally wiped out during the earthquake in Nepal a few years back. They have reconstructed that now. This is that Langtang Lirung peak that I talked about. This is the Kanjin Gompa site where in that Langtang trek. This is the Gosai Kunda lake that I talked about. It's a pilgrimage lake. Okay, now we have finished the first portion. This at the bottom you can see there are 3 buttons from page 1 to second page. What are we doing for time? Okay, another maybe 10 minutes. I'll try to wind up. Here is PK Das, our classmate. When he came, he came along with Sadanand Kamath for the Everest Base Camp trek. We again started from Jiri and we were to go to Everest Base Camp, but I stopped at Namche Bazaar because I got a backache and came back by helicopter. But PKD and Sadanand Kamath went on to Everest Base Camp and came back later on, a few days later. This is the Great Lakes trek in Kashmir. In Kashmir, there are many lakes with Hindu god names. And there is a history about it. I cannot go into that. But this is one of those Great Lakes in Kashmir. This is another of those lakes. You go through a loop in the mountain with visiting about 5-6 lakes. High altitude. It's about 7-8 days trek. This is Manaslu trek, circuit trek. This is the view of that peak there. This is again Ganesh Himal in that trek. This is the host of most of these tea houses in Nepal are run by ladies. Their husbands who are Sherpa, they go on some Sherpa duties either in mountaineering or trekking as guides or whatever, and the ladies run the entire tea house. And this is that very ever smiling owner lady of one of the tea houses on that Sum Valley trek. These are some of the pictures of that Sum Valley, and this is the Ganesh Himal of that. This is that again Manaslu peak. This is that when in that Manaslu circuit trek you have to cross a high altitude pass called Larkhela, and this is the east end of that Larkhela pass with me near the prayer flags there. At the end of the trek, you come down to the lower levels with a lot of waterfalls on the way. And this is the Kanchenjunga trek that I did with 5 Americans by joining their group through a internet site called Internet Trekking Partners or something. And this is Roger, Robbie, Paul, and Bill. 4 guys, all stalwarts in trekking, marathon running. This, for example, Bill has run 20-30 Boston marathons every year. He runs that. This Paul has done all the long treks in US. That is a Pacific Crest Trek, Appalachian Trek, CDT, everything. He has done everything, and he comes once in a way to Nepal and does these long treks. This Kanchenjunga trek, which I did with them, both to the north and south base camp, is a very tough trek. And we did that. And Roger Roy is a Peace Corps guy who worked as a young man in Nepal, and he speaks Nepali like anything. And every year he comes to Nepal for doing some trek. This is the tilak that I got before starting that Kanchenjunga trek. These are the views on the way to the Kanchenjunga trek, a tea house. This is towards the end of the north base camp, Jannu Peak, also called Kumbhakarna. This is a view from the second last point of that. This is a tea house where we stayed on the way to Kanchenjunga trek. This is again Jannu. Yak. This is Annapurna South view from the base camp, Annapurna South base camp. And this is the base camp where these prayer flags are. This is towards the north end of that north base camp, where we could not go to the last point there and had to return back due to heavy snow. This is the crossing from South Base Camp to the north on a high pass. That's me, where you can see the South Base Camp and Ratong and Kanchenjunga is here, right here, from the south. This is while climbing that Selela Pass to that. This is our guide Dinesh, you know, putting on a mask that he found on the ground somewhere. This is the tea house. This is how the tea house, basic tea house is on that Selela Pass. When you cross from South Base Camp to North Base Camp over a high ridge. That's me sitting writing notes in my diary. This is a dangerous landslide that we have to cross on the way without stopping because constantly stones are falling. This is a baby and a mom where we stayed in Gunsa village. This is I told you about that last day, heavy snow. This is the scene after that snow. More or less at the end of the trek, we are on the last day's trek, we start from this tea house. This is some other trek that I did to Milam with 2 other Indian trekking friends. This is at that last point of that Milam trek. Okay, this is one of the most interesting treks where in Nepal, where I went to, you get to see Annapurna South and Hinchuli and also another beautiful mountain, Dhaulagiri. You can see that those mountains through the trek, through the trees. This is Machepuchare, Annapurna South, Hinchuli, and this is Annapurna main on the behind that, very far away. This is the tea house where we stayed in that Mohare Danda lodge, where you get this beautiful view. Mohare Danda, me, and the entire Annapurna range from there. This is Dhaulagiri again from there. This is Machepuchare close-up. This is Annapurna South at sunrise. Again, Dhaulagiri at sunrise. Mohare Danda. This is the place where we stayed in Mohare Danda, the tea house bedrooms with the view of Dhaulagiri at the back. Annapurna South. And this is another viewpoint, Khopra Danda, again with Dhaulagiri as the view. That's me sitting there. This is Dhaulagiri. This is all Annapurna South and Machepuchare. These are some of the good luxury tea houses that you get on this Annapurna and Everest Base Camp treks. This is again at the Machepuchare Base Camp. When we go into the Annapurna Sanctuary to the base camp, this is the second last point. And this is all that Annapurna range from Annapurna Sanctuary, that is south of Annapurna, not the circuit. Machepuchare, this is the base camp at Annapurna base camp. This is the south face of Annapurna. That's me there. Some flowers, some waterfalls. Satopant Lake. This is another interesting trek. This is the trek from Badrinath to a place called Satopant with about 7 or 8 days trek. And in each of these places, one of the Pandavas died, according to the local stories. Arjuna died here. Then, finally, at Satopant, you can see this. This is what the Swargarohini steps, where Yudhishthira went finally in those steps with his dog, and he was the only fellow who finally reached heaven from this steps that you can see here. Swarga. These are the Swarga steps or something it's called. Yeah. And from this Satopant Lake, you get this view. We didn't go up to those steps. This was our last point, myself and. Okay, now we are still 5 minutes more, maybe. Yeah. Okay, this is another trek that I did, which is a high 3-pass trek with going to Everest Base Camp, Kalapathar, but from a high pass. This is a guy who, young lad, maybe 19, 20 years old. He took us, and he was very, very confident of doing the trek for old people like us. And we ended up, okay, this is at the beginning of the trek where there is a group of Europeans in a prayer circle. This is a view from Chukung before we start climbing the pass. These are some views from that trek. This is Ama Dablam. which is a famous peak in Nepal. Again, Amma Dablam, and this is on our way to the Kongmala. KS and another guy, Prem, who came with me. There were actually 3 of us. This is the, after reaching Kongmala, we looked down at this lake. We came actually from somewhere way down there, and it's a long 10-hour walk to reach this spot. This is where we are sitting on the ridge out in Kongmala. That's a big achievement for me, I think, at my age. Yeah. And then these are the views from that. When we come down, we are supposed to come down and then reach a place called Lobuche after crossing the what do you call the main glacier from Everest. And we reached that, actually we reached that at when it had already started becoming dark. And somehow this boy, that guy I showed you, he took us through that glacier without any major mishap. It was a dangerous situation. And this is again at that Kala Pathar, the second time when I went there. Okay, we are now going to the last quickly. And I want to have some 5 minutes for any question answers. So okay, these are all some Nepal scenes. Another a Tamang area trek and a Ruby Valley trek that I did, and these are some of the tea houses where I stayed. This is a view from a high point called Nagthali into Tibet.
From. Hi. Can I call you back?
Okay, this is something which is very easily accessible for most people. Near Rudraprayag, a place called, there is a temple called Kartik Swami temple on a high ridge where you can see the entire Himalayan range if it's a clear sky. That is what I got when I went there. It's very accessible. This is a trek that I did to Makalu base camp. And this is a tea house lady and her son who run this tea house at a Danda Kharka. These are some girls on the way. These are some, again, those views that I saw on that Makalu base camp trek. Okay, this is the last trek that I did in 2019 to Gokyori, and this is the view from Mongla. This is on top of Gokyori, and that's it. This is the view of Mount Everest from Gokyori. Okay, I think closed down. Yeah, I don't want to go into Google Earth and all now. Maybe we can have some question answers. Okay, you can unmute whoever wants to ask and ask.
Hi.
Excellent pictures.
Okay, thanks. Who's that? Manju, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
I feel that we are also getting a first-hand look at all the peaks.
Right.
Yes, fantastic pictures.
Shall I kick off? Shall I kick off with some questions, kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who was that in talk? Chawla?
Pardon?
Somebody said fantastic pictures. Anyway, thanks.
Of course, pictures are fantastic. You know, because I've been putting comments on your.
Yeah,
page.
sure. Yeah, you have been looking at my Facebook posts. Yeah.
Keris, I've got 4 questions. Shall I read them all out at the same time?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, maybe I'll start with the easy questions. When you showed us pictures of yourself from a distance, who was taking the pictures? Because you said that you were only there with your guide.
Usually the porter guide, you know, if it's a solo trek and I'm the only guy, but I always go with a guide or a porter, a guide come porter, and they know how to take pictures.
So when you're with one guide and both of you are in the picture, is it how's that picture taken?
Then that means that's not a solo trek. There's a third guy also.
Okay. My next question is, did you ever visit Ladakh? Because I believe that's a very nice place to go to.
Yes, there are a lot of treks in Ladakh. I have been to Ladakh, but on a touristy kind of thing, not on a trek.
Are you planning a trek there?
I doubt it. I'm too old now for doing Ladakh treks. Though I feel energetic and want to do. There is one there's a trek there called Stok Kangri, which I have been wanting to do for many years. I don't know. I will have to. I'll have
Sorry,
to think.
what's it called? What's it called?
Stoke Kangri. STOK.
Yeah.
The first there are it's two word name. STOK stock. STOK and Kangri. KANGRI.
I
That's
see. I'll
that's
look it up.
stock Kangri. Yeah, you can look it up. There are many treks, of course. There are hundreds of treks in Ladakh
Yeah.
itself, but this is one
Right.
which is quite famous. Yeah. Plus, there
My
is
next-
one frozen lake trek. You know, on that Zanskar River, which gets frozen totally in February. There are people who trek along on top of that river. You know, which is also something which I was thinking of doing, but now may be too dangerous for me.
Well, yeah, maybe if you go in a group, that might be helpful.
Yes, that is possible. That means
Yeah.
I'll be holding up the group.
My next two questions are actually very to do with names, because when you talked about Dhaulagiri, you know, traditionally in Bengal, you mentioned Dhaulagiri in conjunction with its twin, Khondogiri, Dhaulagiri, Khondogiri. So you never mentioned Khondogiri. Do you know anything about it?
The Dhaulagiri that I mentioned, Dronagiri. No, there is one in Nepal which I have called Dhaulagiri. There is also Dhauladhar range in Himachal Pradesh.
No,
And-
it's the one in Nepal, because it's Dhaulagiri, because in Bengal you would be closer to Nepal, wouldn't you?
I really don't know the answer to that question. Yeah.
Okay. And the next question is to do with Machu
Machu
Picchu.
Picchu, yeah.
Machu Picchu, because you know when I used to read about the Machu Picchu in the Andes, I always thought that name sounds like a tail of a fish.
Yeah, that's it. It's actually Nepali fish tail. It's fish tail translate in Nepali language. Machu
Yes,
Picchu.
but the Machu Picchu in Andes is also called Machu Picchu. So I was wondering if you knew anything about the connection.
No, not really. I have no idea why. Maybe it's been named by either a Bengali or a Nepali, because that.
Or you know, way back in history, maybe they
Yeah, there is
migrated.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's the end of my nosiness.
Arun Kiri, you had a question you put in the chat.
Yeah, yeah, I was more curious about how do you acclimatize to those heights, and I remember a few days back there was a post which HN had put about using camphor and ajwain together in a knot.
Altitude. Yeah. Altitude
And that
sickness.
you
Yeah.
can smell those things, and your oxygen levels can stay high enough. Is that all?
I don't know. I have heard this story before, even before HN said it, about camphor being used for, having, oxygen, better oxygen supply in high altitude. But I have not heard anybody doing that. And I have not seen anybody doing that in Nepal, at least, or in India.
Wow.
No, but I have been to Ladakh, and in the hotels they serve you, give you a piece of camphor nicely put in a muslin cloth whenever
Right.
we go out. So they said that whenever you have a problem with this one, what do you call it, oxygen, and you just breathe, smell it, you will be having a better oxygen and you can climb, particularly when climbing stairs or climbing the hills. Similarly, in Machu Picchu, I have been there.
Yeah.
And Machu Picchu is a place where they give you a cocoa leaves tea, for maintaining a better stability and oxygen level at the higher level. Because Machu Picchu is, although at 10,000 feet, before reaching you'll be going up to 14,000 feet.
Right. Machu Picchu,
And
you're talking about South
incidentally,
America, right?
yeah, in South America, in Peru. In Machu Picchu, for all said and done, it is a sun temple. Believe me or not, it is a sun temple. They were also having a similar, in fact, there is a face of a Shiva-like person there also in the hill. But Machu Picchu is basically a sun temple with the additional moon temple, everything. So it is, maybe there is a connection between, in the very olden days, between Machu Picchu and in this one.
May I interject very quickly,
Yeah.
Ron Chat?
Yeah, there's two more questions. I just want to do them.
Okay, no, I'll take a second actually, because I just wanted to respond to HN, because HN, I've done some research into these. I don't know if you've heard of these, the rotating axis, Earth's axis, which causes these, what do you call them? These ice ages. So
Yes.
during the last ice age, there was massive sort of, what do you call it, migrations, movements from what is now known as the, whatever its passage, the one that links the easternmost, topmost part of Russia to Alaska. And so
Bering
there was,
Strait.
one journey, these people, the Mongoloids, they went that route and then populated down the spine of North and South America. So the Western, because it was similar to the habitat they were used to. So the culture that you find in the whole Andes thing, it sort of goes back.
I want to get
thousands of years.
everybody.
I think we need to go on to the other questions. Very simple.
There's some noise in the background, Ron Chat. It's very disturbing.
Some people have unmuted themselves. Please, if you're not speaking, unmute yourself, mute yourself, okay? Because I don't want to mute everybody. Question from various people. KS, did Lata accompany you on any treks?
Any trick? No. No. Lata has done some treks in ladies group. There is a group of ladies here led by a lady named Suzanne, who is a physical trainer and also herself a very good trekker. And they have formed a group of 7, 8 or 10 maybe ladies, Meanders group. And these ladies go together in a group led by that Suzanne organizes that. And then they have done some treks, some of the many treks. Yeah, okay, many treks. Muktinath also they have been to, but not over the pass. Muktinath is a temple. Then they have also done some other Valley of Flowers, Brigu. Yeah, quite a few treks they have done, but in that ladies group, because they are quite supportive of each other. The ladies find it quite difficult to climb and stuff like that, but they are so supportive, and they also exchange so much information, talk together, that the trek itself becomes easier. If she comes with me, then she will be way behind and I'll be way ahead, and there'll be a lot of friction and fights between us. I don't want to spoil my treks with her there. I'll get a lot of advice on my trek and not be able to do what I want.
Jerry, you had a question about communication. Go ahead and ask.
Okay, so Kes, question I had was, how do you communicate with your guides and the tea houses? Do they have landline telephones, or in some areas at least, do they have a cell phone connection?
Yeah,
what
actually,
is their method of communication?
No, they are walking with me. They may be walking.
Before you go there.
Oh, before I go there. No, I actually, there is an area in Kathmandu called Thamel, which is a whole big suburb of Kathmandu, where all the trekking agencies are. There are 1,000 trekking agencies there. And there are 10,000 porters and guides walking along those streets. So in Thamel, if you walk around, it's like a touristy place with a lot of bars, music, loud music, everything, like a, I don't know what to call it. It's a very hip place and fun to just visit that and stay there in that locality itself and visit the bars and attend all the music dance sessions. In that area, there are lots of trekking agencies. And there are also a lot of porters who are hired by these trekking agencies or who are insured by these trekking agencies. So you need to contact only a trekking agency. In Kathmandu, I have one fixed trekking agency. I always go through him. It is called Asian Hiking Team or something, his agency. And that proprietor, Suman Nupane, is who I will I'll send him an email saying I'm coming to Kathmandu on such and such a day, and I'm thinking of this trek or that trek, or if you have some other suggestion of some other trek in this season, let me know. And I go there and he books me a hotel room. There are lots of lodges also there. He'll book me a hotel room which is quite close to his office. I'll go there, stay there, and then meet him in his office next day and discuss what treks to do. And he will then do all the things that are necessary for that trek. And he will also give me a porter guide, hire out a porter guide for me. And the porter guide costs something like 1,600 rupees in Indian rupees. sorry, 1,000 rupees in India, 1,600 Nepali rupees. That takes care of his entire salary and food and everything. And that guy will, from the day we start the trek, he'll be throughout with me till we come back to the agency after 10 days, 20 days or 30 days. He'll always be with me, and I will pay for all his bus fares and flights and whatever. And it is his job. He will be like working like behind me or ahead of me, 100 or 200 meters. And he also has a local cell phone with him. I also have a local cell phone. So if he is not in sight, I can always call him. Provided there is Wi-Fi in that area. Mostly there is a lot of Wi-Fi in Nepal in almost all the places. These treks are also very cheap, you know, for Westerners, particularly people coming from US or Germany or any of these European countries. The whole thing can be done in about $40 per day, the total trip, including stay, food, porter, everything, you know. For $40 for a European or an American is very cheap. They cannot go to a holiday without paying $150 just for stay in a hotel. And here in Nepal, they can afford to stay for 6 months together and not spend even half of what they would spend in a 2 or 3 week vacation in US.
Yes, if I can ask just one other question quickly. In the areas that you went, there may be small villages and I see a lot of children. What are the education facilities for the children there?
Most of these children go to schools. There are local primary schools. There are in the same village. Almost every major village has a local primary school. So the kids up to class 5 or 6 go to those schools. And then they have to go on to a secondary school, means they will go to a school which is residential in a nearby bigger town. But most of the places I find that the children are going to school.
Thank you.
I don't know what is the quality of education they get, but they all go to school. They all wear school uniforms. They all wear ties, and they all say namaste whenever you see a bunch of school kids, and they are very polite and very nice. And some kids ask for toffees, but that's also, you know, not very. And I always carry a lot of small chocolates in my pocket. So if the kid comes and asks for chocolate, I give it to them. That's it.
One final question from the chat. Arun Kiri, again, you had a suggestion?
I didn't mute I had muted myself. No, the question was, would you like to get a class group together for initiating us into treks, KS?
Yeah, it can be done. I mean, you have to consider 3 things. Your age and your situation, your position in terms of knees, your heart situation, cardiac situation, and third is altitude sickness. But there are many simple treks possible to do, and particularly in Nepal, I would think that there are some treks which from the road head to the base camp is just about 6 or 7 days. So yeah, if some people are interested, it could be easily organized and done, and I could also go with them and also take the help of my agency to do that. It's easily doable, but you need to have these 3 things, you know, be able to climb altitudes from 1,000 meters to 3,000 meters, 3,500 meters on a trail kind of situation, be able to have no problem with the heart, and also altitude problem you will know only when you do it. Normally you cannot predict it. Even very good mountaineers or trekkers can get it even after doing these treks after few years. So that is a matter of chance. For avoiding altitude problems, you have to go slowly. You should not ascend too fast at a time. So if you take it easy and take it slowly, not walk more than 4 or 5 hours a day, it can be done.
Thanks.
Yes, just a request. It was such a fantastic session. Why don't you think of writing a book? You've got so much material. I can promise you it will be a bestseller. It's so beautiful listening to you the whole evening, and it was lovely. Just put it into a book form. Make that your next project.
Sure, I can do that, but I have read a lot of books on trekking by a lot of veterans. What I have done is nothing as compared to what they have done and what they have written. So it doesn't seem to be making sense to try to beat any of those books. So anyway, I'll just show you one thing which I am thinking is a substitute for a trek, which is this website that I've created. This is my website, a travel blog, and this has all the things that I've done from the beginning. You know, if you go down this left navigation column, this will list all the 70 odd, I think I have done 71, okay, 71 trips that I've done, treks, but all are not treks. Many are car trips, many are backpacking trips in regional bus services like Himachal Pradesh. Most of my trips in Himachal Pradesh have been by HP Road Transport Corporation. And there are also some which are, just car journeys, driving journeys. You could go through all of this, and there is enough material there. I have done ultimate in documentation in each of these, in terms of itinerary, in terms of day-to-day diary descriptions, in terms of how to do it again. Of course, that it would be of help to somebody a youngster to read this, but there's a lot of details in this, and there's a lot of material as good as a book. All I have to do is copy this into a book and make it. But well, let me think about it. See, if you just say, if you click on a link of a trek, the last one I did, it will go immediately into detailed background. How did I do that trek? Okay, these are some pictures loading. Wait. Yeah, background, how I started that trek, what is the trek summary, what is the, what is the day-wise schedule, when day one, where I went, what, everything is there. And then you have day-wise diaries. That is first day, second day, third day, you can read details, and lots of pictures are there. In each of these, there are hundreds of pictures. If anybody is interested, you can go and see it in detail. I don't, I mean, if I write a book, it will be basically mostly this stuff, which I have already documented it. I have spent, I just counted for this purpose. I have done 365 days of long treks totally in 15 years, 365 long trek days over 15 years, let us say. I have spent, I think, double or triple or 4 times that much amount of time in writing these blogs after coming back, doing some research before going and writing these blogs and keep on enhancing it. And as the internet improves and it can take larger pictures, I keep upgrading it. So there's a lot of stuff anybody wanting to read in. Then I make sort of movies also, and I plug them also into this website. So if anybody going through this website, he will get a lot more, except portability. That is, you cannot have it, carry it as a book, but you will get a lot of stuff in this.
Yes, the detail is extensive. The pictures are fantastic. If I was to add to Gautam, I would say not a book, but a coffee table publication where you choose the best of items that you have.
Yes, I have that also. I'll show you that. What is it?
Yeah.
1 minute.
Also, you stand to make some money.
A lot
Yes.
of money, yes.
Yeah.
When
You're
KS
missing
comes
out.
back, Ravi, Zach, I know you've got a question.
Sorry.
How much, my question was, does one train, how does one train for these treks?
KS, question.
Okay,
for
here is the
Wait.
coffee table book of Manaslu Circuit and Sum Valley Trek in Nepal. This is the Jiri to Namche Bazaar book. And it has got lots of pictures and stuff like that. This is all uploaded and printed by me on, what is this site? I forget now. Blurb, B-L-U-R-B, Blurb. Self-published. This is Kumaon High Altitude. This is Roopkund. Okay. This is that, what is this trek? Yeah, Pabbar Valley trek. These books are available. You can order it on Blurb. I don't know, it costs maybe $10, $12. I just printed one copy for myself just to keep it as a table, but it's already there. Of course, sorry, this is an Australia-New Zealand trip that I did with my wife. This is also I published this. Okay, so there are, but I have not done all the treks. I've done some of the more popular ones only.
Thanks. KS,
Yeah.
Maya had a question.
Yeah, Maya.
Yes, my question was, how much training do you have to do before you go on the trek? And what kind of training?
Yeah.
Conditioning.
Yeah. If you have never done a trek and you want to do one of these long treks, I think you have to train yourself for about 2 months before you go for the trek, which means walking for about 8 to 10 kilometers every day for 20 days in a month for 2 months. Walking in normal level roads. But if you can get yourself to a sort of hilly terrain and walk on ups and down slopes, that would be better. How I keep in fit for this is that I walk, there is Sanjay Gandhi National Park next door to me in Thane. and there are hills there, and I go for a walk every day between morning 4 to 6. I am there. 1 hour to go up, 1 hour to come down. Altitude is not very high. It's about 250 to 300 meters. But I do it every day, morning 6 to 8 or 4 to 6, depending on this. And that is all the time when I'm not in the Himalayas, I'm doing this daily thing. So that keeps me fit automatically. So I can get up any day and just go and do that long Himalayan trek without a problem.
Thank you.
KS, thank you very, very much. That was fascinating, as everybody.
Absolutely fascinating.
Fabulous.
Absolutely fascinating is right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad you all liked it.
Yeah. And
Wonderful.
Fabulous.
being up.
Is there a link for your blog?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
there in
Actually,
the-
that note.
Yeah, in the
you see
invitation, if you look.
This note that Ranjit
okay.
has circulated has got the link for the blog and
okay,
album,
sorry.
and the album that I displayed today. All are there at the bottom of that.
Yeah, KS sent that to me, so I circulated that.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
I'll send it.
Yes, thank you very, very much.
Okay.
Before we close,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
KS.
Yes, that was
Thank you.
great.
Wonderful
Thank you.
Thanks very
presentation.
much.
Before we
Okay.
close today, a couple of people wanted to talk about Goa. I don't know if there's anything to say, but Gautam or Chao Singh, can you tell us if there's an update?
We have run out of time because we'll do it on the WhatsApp post because Malavika's session, I think, is supposed to start at 9:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are
Okay, bye.
including.
Bye.
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 Very nice.
Okay. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Thanks for
Thanks.
coming. Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.